والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر.
Today we will be covering the story of Ashab al-Qaryah, verses from 13 all the way down to 27. We'll start with the recitation, inshallah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم واضرب لهم مثلا أصحاب القرية إذ جاءها المرسلون إذ أرسلنا إليهم اثنين فكذبوهما فعززنا بثالث فقالوا إنا إليكم مرسلون قالوا ما أنتم إلا بشر مثلنا وما أنزل الرحمن من شيء إن أنتم إلا تكذبون قالوا ربنا يعلم إنا إليكم لمرسلون وما علينا إلا البلاغ المبين قالوا إنا تطيرنا بكم لئن لم تنتهوا لنرجمنكم وليمسنكم منا عذاب أليم قالوا طائركم معكم أئن ذكرتم بل أنتم قوم مسرفون وجاء من أقصى المدينة رجل يسعى قال يا قوم اتبعوا المرسلين اتبعوا من لا يسألكم أجرا وهم مهتدون وما لي لا أعبد الذي فطرني وإليه ترجعون أأتخذ من دونه آلهة إن يردني الرحمن بضر لا تغن عني شفاعتهم شيئا ولا ينقذون إني إذا لفي ضلال مبين إني آمنت بربكم فاسمعون قيل ادخل الجنة قال يا ليت قومي يعلمون بما غفر لي ربي وجعلني من المكرمين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين. What follows is a magnificent story about a village, about a people of a town. Allah referred to them only as Ashab al-Qaryah. This story takes up one full page and is nearly about a quarter of this surah. Many of you may never have even heard of this story before, Ashab al-Qaryah. But the story contains amazing benefits. Benefits for a Muslim in general and for a da'i in particular, someone who wants to da'wah, out there talking to the people about Islam, Muslims and non-Muslims alike. But before we go into the story, going back to the surah as we've already covered it, we've mentioned that Yaseen from the beginning up until now is more of an address to the Quraysh through the Prophet ﷺ. Allah Jalla wa said, Yaseen wal Quran al-Hakim innaka lamir mursaleen, that referring to the Prophet ﷺ that you are indeed a messenger. Never mind what the Quraysh say, lasta mursala, that you are not. No, you are. building up to them the honor of the Prophet ﷺ, and the Quraysh listening to this surah being related as an audience, being told this man ala sirat al-mustaqim, he's upon the straight path, he's been given this Quran wal hakim, it is muhkam, clear, precise, accurate, he's a prophet upon this straight path, this is the man, you need to take note. And the main thing, don't deny the resurrection, do not belie the resurrection. Inna nahnu nuhyil mauta, that we are the ones who are going to resurrect your lifeless bodies. And we explained that verse in the last part of the tafsir last time. So the denial of the resurrection, one of the key themes of this surah, as we mentioned in the beginning. Now, the same concept will be related again, but from another approach. The approach of storytelling. Yeah? So the same theme, affirmation of al-ba'ath, of resurrection, but from another angle now, from a story. Now the beauty of stories is that everybody likes to hear a story, children, even adults. But the benefit of a story is not just that people listen, it's that the message of something can be passed through a lot easier. They're hearing about those people over there. Oh Quraysh, remember those people over there, how they lived, those prophets that came to them, how they reacted. And then self-reflection, well then what about us? The fact that Allah narrates for us the same concepts and belief from different angles and perspectives shows us the mercy of Allah. For if He so wished, He could have told us in one direct address. But no, He told us through beautiful passages of the Quran that relate the same things from different perspectives. So the benefit of storytelling. So when you, in your own da'wah to your family, to those outside, recognize the importance of relating things through stories, through your own personal experience, sometimes is good, though what is usually the best is about things that happened in the past. Maybe of incidences that have occurred in recent history, or to go back to even the prophets from before, the nations of the past, and narrate to them stories. Okay? The importance of storytelling is great. And many times Allah Jalla wa Ala has mentioned many stories in the Quran, and this is one of them. So now, Allah Jalla wa Ala says, وَضْرِبَ لَهُمْ مَثَلًا أَصْحَابِ الْقَرْيَةِ إِذْ جَاءَهَا الْمُرْسَلُونَ. Allah addressing the Prophet ﷺ, so narrate to them the story of Ashab al-Qarya. When إِذْ جَاءَهَا الْمُرْسَلُونَ, when to the Qarya came Mursalun, not messenger, messengers. Now what is the story? When you narrate this story, you'll find that there are many details missing. For instance, who is Ashab al-Qarya exactly? When did they live? Where exactly did they live? It's not mentioned. Allah Jalla wa Ala never mentioned it. Who exactly were these prophets? Were they messengers, linguistically speaking, that they were sent by somebody else? Or were they messengers of Allah Jalla wa Ala? It's not clear. Sayyid Qutb rahimahullah made a very good point here. He said that the story as related by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has many details missing because of a wisdom. And the wisdom is that what is important is not the details of the story, but the meaning and the message behind them. Sometimes narrating a lot of detail can make the people overly focused on the small and insignificant aspects. Isn't that true? Or when they lived, exactly what were they like, what type of food did they eat, etc, etc, etc. Now that's not the point here. The point here is that they were sent messengers, and they were a people that lived in a town. So Sayyid Qutb made a very good point here, and when you read this, you find it's true actually. This is strange because look, for example, in verse number, if you go to number 25, this man He says, Inni amantu bi rabbikum fasma'un. Indeed, I have believed in your Lord, fasma'un. We will make tafsir of that later. Then all of a sudden, he's talking to people, قِيلَ دُخُلِ الْجَنَّةِ. It was said, enter paradise. What happened there? One minute he's talking to people, the next minute Allah Jalla wa Ala is saying, it was said to him, enter paradise. He's left this world. He's now moved on to the akhirah. Moreover, he's being told to enter paradise. What happened in between exactly? The death. How did he die? Unknown. See, that doesn't matter. That detail is not really important. What's important is look at his fate. Okay? So Sayyid Qutb mentioned that point. وَضْرِبَ لَهُمْ مَثَلًا أَصْحَابِ الْقَرْيَةِ. Two views. What does this mean? Relate to them the story of Ashab al-Qaryah. The first view is that the Prophet ﷺ is being told, narrate to the Quraysh the story of Ashab al-Qaryah, the companions of the town, in order that they may take a warning from this story. That is the first view. The second view is that the Prophet ﷺ himself is being told to narrate the story so he can find some meaning and strength in that story. As if Allah Jalla wa Ala is saying, look, your people are rejecting you. Remember we said this is a Makki surah, okay, in Makkah, where the Prophet ﷺ faced so many challenges. He's being told, look, your people are rejecting you, they're abusing you, they're torturing your followers. But remember, Ashab al-Qaryah, those were sent not just one prophet, they were sent many prophets. And look at their reaction, look at their behavior towards them. They suffered in the very same way. They were met with the same obstacles. So identify yourself with them and take strength from them, for you are like those people. And then later on in the story we see the fate of those people, that they are entered into paradise, that they, Allah Jalla praises them, etc, etc, etc. So those are the two views. Now extended on those two views, we can extend on them. The first view, that it relates to Quraysh, means that it relates to every person that came after the Quraysh that also rejects the message. Up until today, up until Yawm al-Qiyamah. Every people that reject the message of the prophets, the Quran in our time, are like Ashab al-Qaryah. Likewise, extending on the second view, everyone who believes in the Prophet ﷺ and follows in his footsteps to proclaim his message reflect of Ashab al-Qaryah. For in that story you will find strength, just like the Prophet ﷺ found strength. You will find lessons. Okay? So those are the two views. Who were Ashab al-Qaryah? In the tafasir we find that there are a number of views. At-Tabari rahimahullah mentioned two views. He said that either Ashab al-Qaryah, who were the prophets sent to Ashab al-Qaryah? Two views mentioned by Tabari. The first is that they were messengers of Allah, prophets sent by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to Ashab al-Qaryah. The second view is that no, they weren't prophets, meaning prophets of Allah, they were messengers of Isa alayhi salam. It was Isa alayhi salam who wasn't living amongst these Ashab al-Qaryah. However, he knew about them. And before he was taken up by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he sent messengers to go and proclaim to them his message. Now, where did they go to? There is an agreement among the Mufassirun on one point, that these people lived in a place called Antakya. Antakya, from my understanding, is a city on the southern parts of Turkey bordering Sham. This is something that they agreed on. As for whether they were prophets sent by Allah or messengers of Isa alayhi salam, they differed greatly about that. Ibn Kathir, rahimahullah, he said that no, it's not really possible to say that they were messengers of anyone. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the next verse, إِذْ أَرْسَلْنَا, that when we sent them, Allah referred to His majestic self. Allah would never refer to His majestic self if they have been sent by somebody else. So He made tarjih. He said, no, this seems to be the more likely view. Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah has something interesting to say about this story. He said that, and listen to this because it's a little bit deep. He said that what is known from Ahlul Ilm is that after Musa alayhi salam, Allah Jalla wa Ala decreed that any nation, disbelieving nation, would not be destroyed from an adhab from as-sama. They would not be destroyed from any supernatural calamity after Musa alayhi salam. Rather, Allah would punish them through the hands of His believers. If you look before Musa alayhi salam, Nuh, how were his people destroyed? A supernatural flood destroyed every single one of them. Yeah? You have, for example, even Musa alayhi salam, Lut before Musa alayhi salam. How were his people destroyed? Jibreel came and with the tip of his wing, subhanallah, destroyed those evil people. Supernatural from as-sama. Musa alayhi salam, Fir'aun, how was he destroyed? Supernatural. The sea splits before his very eyes, and out of ignorance, out of arrogance rather, he chases after Musa alayhi salam and is drowned by Allah. But thereafter, Allah Jalla decreed that the punishment that will come to the people now that disbelieve will be through the hands of the believers. Therefore, to say that Ashab al-Qarya are those people living at the time of Isa alayhi salam is not possible. Why? Because Allah Jalla wa Ala spoke about the way they were destroyed and said, إِن كَانَتْ إِلَّا صَيْحَةً وَاحِدَةً, that the way this nation were destroyed was by an adhab from as-sama. They were destroyed by one piercing cry, a supernatural. Therefore, he said it's not possible to say that they were sent by Isa alayhi salam, or that it was even at that time. Rather, most probably was before the time of Musa alayhi salam. But they agreed that those people refer to a nation that lived in Antakya. Okay. إِذْ جَاءَهَا الْمُرْسَلُونَ. Two linguistic points here. The first, look at the word here. إِذْ جَاءَهَا الْمُرْسَلُونَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala didn't say إِذْ جَاءَهُمْ الْمُرْسَلُونَ. What is the difference? The difference is to make it clear. Here are the people, Ashab al-Qarya. Here are the Mursalun, messengers. Who came to who? Was it the case that these people sought out some kind of guide and said, we know there are some messengers, some righteous people over there, let us go and find out about the deen, let us go and find out about life? No. إِذْ جَاءَهَا الْمُرْسَلُونَ. The messengers came to the people. This is clear when you say إِذْ جَاءَهَا. Lessons from this. The first, think about that. The messengers proactively sought out those community of people. They could have very easily said, who are those mushrikun over there? And by the way, that's a second point of agreement. Ashab al-Qarya were people who used to engage in idol worship. They were polytheists. That's a second point of agreement. They proactively sought them out. They could have easily said, look at those people living in misguidance, darkness, worshipping others beneath Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We don't want anything to do with those people. No. إِذْ جَاءَهَا الْمُرْسَلُونَ. They said, we need to go to those people. Those people are in need of da'wah. Let us seek them out. Proactivity. This is one lesson that you can learn just from this linguistic point. The second, and this is a fine point, is that of planning. Imagine those people, those messengers rather, they came from afar, knowing that these people, we don't know anything about them. We don't know how they're going to react to us. We don't even know what their lifestyle is, what type of people they are. They must have planned. What should we do when we come here? How should we speak to them? What should our message be? There was planning there. It wasn't haphazard. Let's go and see what happens. No. They went there, إِذْ جَاءَهَا الْمُرْسَلُونَ, seeking out those people proactively and had a plan in their mind. What will we do when we go there? Second linguistic point. Allah said, إِذْ جَاءَ. And Allah did not say, أَتَاءَهَا الْمُرْسَلُونَ. He mentioned ja and he didn't say ata. Ja and ata, maji and ityan, can refer to the same thing, to come. But there's a subtle difference that the linguists mentioned. They said that maji, ja, it has this connotation of coming with some difficulty along the way. They didn't just come ata, easily. No, they had some difficulties along the way. And that, subhanAllah, teaches us something as well. That these mursalun, they knew that there were challenges ahead. And as they made their way from the outskirts of the city into the city, calling the people along the way, they faced many challenges. But that never stopped them. A subtle point there. Next verse. إِذْ أَرْسَلْنَا إِلَيْهِمُ اثْنَيْنِ فَكَذَّبُوهُمَا فَعَزَّزْنَا بِثَالِثٍ. When we sent to them two messengers, what did they do? Those people, Ashab al-Qarya, فَكَذَّبُوهُمَا, they belied both of them. فَكَذَّبُوهُمَا. Therefore, as a consequence of their takdeeb, we did something. What did Allah Jalla wa Ala do? عَزَّزْنَا بِثَالِثٍ. We made عَزَّزْنَا. What is عَزَّزْنَا? Two views. The first is that شَدَدْنَا, we strengthened them. The second view is that we زِدْنَا, we increased them. بِثَالِث, with a third. So there was already two prophets there. Then Allah sent a third one. Imagine that. A small town of people, and amongst them Allah has sent three messengers. SubhanAllah. The mercy of Allah. Now when the third came, فَقَالُوا, all three of them said something. What did they say? Inna ilaykum mursalun. Indeed, we are to you messengers. A very simple statement. Nothing complicated about that. Let's now go to the tafsir. إِذْ أَرْسَلْنَا إِلَيْهِمُ اثْنَيْنِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that He sent two of them. At-Tabari said, what that means is that Allah sent these two and they went to the people and they said, listen, you need to worship one Lord, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And you need to reject and absolve yourself from all of this polytheism, all of this shirk, all of this idol worship. This was their clear message. What was the response? فَكَذَّبُوهُمَا. فَكَذَّبُوهُمَا literally means that they belied them. However, Al-Qurtubi said, فَكَذَّبُوهُمَا means that they started to beat them. They started to torture them. They started to imprison them. When that happened, when they were in prison, or when they were being subjugated like this, فَعَزَّزْنَا بِثَالِثٍ, Allah Jalla wa Ala sent a third. Now, a subtle point here. Allah didn't say فَعَزَّزْنَاهُمَا بِثَالِثٍ. Allah said فَعَزَّزْنَا. Had Allah said فَعَزَّزْنَاهُمَا, we strengthened the two of them, it would have meant that those two individuals needed help. Yeah? But no, Allah said فَعَزَّزْنَا, we strengthened something with a third. A subtle difference. The difference is as follows. They are two prophets. They are living their life there now as callers to the truth. Their state is something, and their call to haqq is also something else, side by side. Once those two became subjugated, maybe even imprisoned according to Al-Qurtubi, then the haqq or the light of truth also began to become dim. Because they are like this. So Allah said, فَعَزَّزْنَا بِثَالِثٍ. That this light of truth, we strengthened this light of truth. What mattered was not the people, no, the call, the message. Did you get that point? فَعَزَّزْنَا بِثَالِثٍ. That we kept this truth or this call to truth alive with a third. فَقَالُوا. The fact that Allah said that all three of them now said the same statement teaches us a lesson in unity. That there are three people here. Don't think of this as just one scene, that they've come all of a sudden, all of this is taking place. Al-Qurtubi mentioned that this in fact took place over 10 years. That 10 years they were with the people, talking to them. But فَقَالُوا, all of them, all together had one message. And that message was the same. It wasn't the case that when they approached one of them, he said something. He said that, oh, you know, to be honest, I'm not really with those guys over there. They said this, but I'm not really like that. They're a bit strict. I'm not that strict, to be honest. Those people are Wahhabis over there, you know. They're Salafis over there. As for me, I believe that we can all live our lives peacefully and there's no friction between us whatsoever. Then they go to the other ones and they say, no, we don't believe in no political Islam. Those people over there, they believe in political Islam. Go after those people. فَقَالُوا إِنَّا إِلَيْكُمْ مُرْسَلُونَ. No, every one of them said the same message. Unity. Look at the unity here. What did they say? إِنَّا إِلَيْكُمْ مُرْسَلُونَ. We are unto you messengers. A very simple statement, but very profound as well. Inna refers to emphasis. It's extra. It doesn't need to be there. But it is called in Arabic tawqeed, giving emphasis. Why is there need for tawqeed? They said, مقام التكذيب يحتاج إلى توكيد. That when the situation arises where you're being belied, you're being accused or you're being belied, turned away from, that then necessitates you emphasizing your message again, just to reinforce it. Now this is actually a very interesting point, because they have already been saying this all along. It's not the first time that they were saying this. Inna ilaykum mursalun. They must have said that from the very beginning. But they're saying it again now. And that teaches us something. That many a times, in the face of aggression, stubbornness, arrogance, you don't need to change your message. You just need to say it again and just emphasize. Look, we are Muslims. This is what we believe. We will continue to believe this. It doesn't matter how much pressure you put on us, how many, strategies you put in place to try and change our beliefs. Inna ilaykum mursalun. We will never abandon our faith. This is what we believe. And to be honest, this is a very influential way of responding, because all those people gathered there together, talking down to these three individuals, and after they belie them, after they torture them, they come out in defiance, saying, Inna ilaykum mursalun. We're still saying the same thing. We're still messengers sent to you. We still have the same message. They must have thought, oh, what can we do with these people? They stand firm for what they believe. They are unrelenting, and they have confidence as well. Okay, next verse. قالوا ما أنتم إلا بشر مثلنا وما أنزل الرحمن من شيء إن أنتم إلا تكذبون. So now this dialogue is taking place. فكذبوهما. In the beginning they started, the messengers gave them da'wah. What was the response? فكذبوهما. They belied them. Then the messengers said, no, the message is this, Inna ilaykum mursalun. Now a counter response. What is the counter response? They come up with an argument. What was the argument? قَالُوا مَا أَنْتُمْ إِلَّا بَشَرٌ. They said that the reality is that you are just bashar, human beings. Qurtubi mentioned that what they meant by that is that you are just people like us. You go to the marketplaces, you buy and sell, you eat food, etc., etc. You're just like us, human beings. Mithluna, like us. وَمَا أَنزَلَ الرَّحْمَنُ. Therefore, by fact that you are just human beings, it means مَا أَنزَلَ الرَّحْمَنُ مِنْ شَيْءٍ. That means that Allah, and look how they referred to Allah as Ar-Rahman. They didn't just say your Lord. They didn't say Allah. They said Ar-Rahman. Meaning that even though they were mushrikun, they still believed in Allah Jalla wa Ala. We'll come to that point. So that was the response, argument. They said, because you're human beings, it must mean that you are not prophets. مَا أَنزَلَ الرَّحْمَنُ مِنْ شَيْءٍ. And not just that. They said, مَا أَنزَلَ الرَّحْمَنُ مِنْ شَيْءٍ. That you are not prophets and you have not been revealed anything whatsoever. So, فَكَذَّبُوهُمَا, that was okay. They rejected. Now the rejection took on another level. They started to come up with arguments. Moreover, they started to call them liars. In antum illa takdibun. You messengers are liars. They accused them and they called them liars. So they just stepped up their level of disrespect, of aggression and rejection. Before we move on to the next verse, a few points. This argument, is it a new argument to Ashab al-Qaryah to say to the prophets that we can't accept you as a prophet because you're just a human being? Is that a new argument or is that an old argument? Old argument. Many people said this. In particular, the Quraysh said this to the Prophet ﷺ, that you are just a bashar. What did they mean by that? They meant by that, you're not an angel. The way we see things is that had you been an angel, then we could have accepted you as a prophet. But because you're just a man, we can't accept you as a prophet. Now, was this a real argument? It was not a real argument. It was what they call red herring. They just made up an argument in order to cover up their already affirmed rejection. Now, keep that in mind, because when you look at the response of the messengers, their response is based upon this understanding that it's not a real argument. It's not a real argument. They're just making an excuse. Therefore, we won't go into dissecting the argument. We won't go into saying, this, what you said, is not true. Even though human beings, we can still be prophets. And angels can't be prophets. No. They said, قَالُوا رَبُّنَا يَعْلَمُ إِنَّا إِلَيْكُمْ لَمُرْسَلُونَ. Our Lord knows that indeed we are, without a shadow of a doubt, mursalun. So their response wasn't focused on the argument of those people. And this is the response of the prophets in general to that particular argument or arguments like that. And that teaches us a lesson. It teaches us that in our times we need to see, when you're doing da'wah, some people will ask you questions not because they want an answer, because they want to put you off or to get rid of you or just to hide their arrogance. Yes? Clear? So they will make up an argument. You know, once my sheikh said to me that there was a Sikh man. He's Arab, so he said Sikh. He said there was a Sikh man and he wanted to accept Islam, and he said, yeah, I know this religion is a beautiful religion and the message is clear to me, but there's one thing. It's one thing. You know, inheritance in your religion, I read it in the Quran, and the shares, they don't add up to one. The fractions, they don't add up to one in this verse over here. So because of that, I can't accept Islam, I'm sorry. So my sheikh said, he said to him that, no problem. Well, it's no problem. It's okay, you don't need to accept Islam. Oh, he said, seriously, Sheikh, you said that to him? How comes? He's going to remain kafir. He said, do you really think that he overlooked the Tawheed, overlooked the Risala, overlooked the magnificence of the Quran just because of this one speck in his eye? No, the reality is he never wanted any of it. You're just making an excuse. Okay? So there's a lesson in that. The lesson is that you need to recognize, sometimes a person asks a question genuinely. Sometimes they ask a question which is called a shubha, a specious argument. They just throw something in your face in order to put you off. Try and see if it is this or this. If it is a genuine question, then you can respond to it. If it is not a genuine question, then you can still respond to it, but you respond to the message that you want to give. Say, maybe we can talk about this inheritance thing later on. Maybe we can speak about this doubt you have about the Prophet ﷺ marrying so many women, or that he married this young girl, etc. at a later stage. But are you clear about the concept of Godhood in Islam? That we worship one and true God who created all, who deserves all our devotion, and nothing else could ever benefit us in the whole universe. Therefore we were created for a purpose, to worship that one God. Is that clear to you? By the way, is this Quran clear to you too, that this is the word of God? Okay? That would be, if you like, the response to those people. As for the genuine person, we can talk to him on another level. So one lesson there. However, there's one place in the Quran where Allah does respond to this argument. Okay? In Surah Al-An'am, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَلَوْ جَعَلْنَاهُ مَلَكًا لَجَعَلْنَاهُ رَجُلًا وَلَلَبَسْنَا عَلَيْهِمْ مَا يَلْبِسُونَ. I mean, when I read this verse, subhanAllah, I was amazed at the way Allah really destroyed this argument. He said to the Quraysh, you want him to be an angel, or you claim that if he was an angel you would believe in him, then let me tell you, if we had made him into an angel, we would have to make him into a man. And had we done that, you would have become confused, or you would have become covered in confusion about a matter that you were already confused about. What does that mean? If we made Muhammad ﷺ an angel, you wouldn't be able to see him. You wouldn't be able to speak to him. So we would have to make him into a man. Had we made him from an angel into a man, two in one, you would become more confused about something you're already confused about. You see, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in such a beautiful, precise and proficient way, uncovered the false nature of that argument. It is not even a real question, let alone deserve it of an answer. Okay. The response of the messengers to this argument, and moreover to the increased level of takdeeb. Pay attention to where the story is going, all these points, okay? They have increased in their level of rejection. In response, you may think that they would now say, look, come up, the messengers may respond with some other words, another statement, something possibly different. Look at what they say. قَالُوا رَبُّنَا يَعْلَمُ إِنَّ إِلَيْكُمْ لَمُرْسَلُونَ. They said, our Lord knows. What does that mean? It means that they took an oath by Allah, that He knows that they are إِنَّا إِلَيْكُمْ لَمُرْسَلُونَ. They said the same thing again, that we are unto you messengers. One difference. In the previous verse they said إِنَّا إِلَيْكُمْ مُرْسَلُونَ. In this word إِنَّا إِلَيْكُمْ لَا مُرْسَلُونَ. Lam at-tawkeed. A lam is placed there for further emphasis. So the first lesson, the response was the same yet again, with one difference of more emphasis. Inna is already there again. We are indeed, without a shadow of a doubt, to you la mursalun, of a surety messengers. Now that teaches us something. It teaches us about manners, about good conduct. I mean, imagine that scenario where those few individuals, three messengers, are surrounded by a rude, arrogant group of individuals who outnumber them, who are even being physically abusive towards them, did they respond with foul words? Did they tell them, shut up, get lost? Did they even fight back? What was their response? They had the highest level of conduct. Inna ilaykum lamursalun. Look, we're not going to respond in a like manner. We're not going to get foul-mouthed as you are. We're not going to start abusing you like you are to us. No, we are going to stand here unrelentingly and reinforce the same message again. Inna ilaykum lamursalun. Al-Qurtubi mentioned this point in some detail. He said, look, it is amazing how they responded with such good character. Anyone else in that situation would have lost their temper, would have become angry, and would have behaved in an angry way. Look at them. They took an oath, and this oath, subhanAllah, has deep meaning as well. They said, قَالُوا رَبُّنَا يَعْلَمُ. And they never said, Wallahi inna ilaykum lamursalun. What is the difference between saying Wallahi and saying Rabbuna ya'lamu? There's a difference. If they said Wallahi, it meant that we swear by Allah. This is a level of conviction. However, saying Rabbuna ya'lamu is one step further, because it is saying not just that we take an oath by Allah, they are saying we know that Allah knows that we are messengers sent to you. You see, if they were wrong and they had said Wallahi, it wouldn't take them out of the fold of Islam. Okay, from a fiqhi perspective, it wouldn't render them disbelievers. Because you can take an oath about something you are sure, but in reality it may not be true. But you can't say that Allah knows that I am like this unless you have been given revelation to confirm such a thing. So when they said Rabbuna ya'lamu, they were saying, look, we're not ordinary people. We have been given revelation from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Though you may be rejecting us, our Rabb, a very intimate way of referring to God. Rabb has this connotation of Murabbi, the nurturer, has this connotation of Al-Hadi, the one who's guiding me, taking care of me. He knows, and that is enough for us. It doesn't matter how much you reject us, because you know what? Allah knows that I am truthful. So I'm not going to be swayed by your rejection. Inna ilaykum lamursalun. The lam here also teaches us that when the level of takdeeb increased, they too increased in their level of tawqeed, in their level of emphasizing, re-emphasizing their point. Then, وَمَا عَلَيْنَا إِلَّا الْبَلَاغُ الْمُبِينَ. They continued in their response. After they said the first statement, they said a second statement. وَمَا عَلَيْنَا إِلَّا الْبَلَاغُ الْمُبِينَ. They said, look, our role and mission is just to convey. It is just to convey. And in that there is a lesson for us. That though we want everyone to enter into the light of Islam, and though we work towards that goal, we know that the realization of that goal, the achievement of that goal, the success is something in the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah has decreed for us to chase after that success by and according to the Quran and the Sunnah, the religion. So as long as we are doing our duty, taking the steps, following the commandments of Allah in order to reach that objective, it doesn't really matter whether that objective is realized or not. We are just here to present to you the message, to invite you to it, to call you to it. If all of you reject it, وَمَا عَلَيْنَا إِلَّا الْبَلَاغُ الْمُبِينَ. We're not going to kill ourselves over it. We don't think that somehow we have the power to change your heart and to make you believe. No. That matter is for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So again, conviction, confidence and defiance, that the way they are speaking, putting forward their arguments in the face of hostility, shows us that these people were amazing people, true individuals that stood for the truth to the very end. Now, we'll take one more verse and then we'll stop for a break. We'll stop for a break. Now the response comes. What is their response? Another argument. The people, Ashab al-Qarya, bring another argument. قالوا طائركم معكم أئن ذكرتم بل أنتم قوم مسرفون. Sorry, the verse was قالوا إنا تطيرنا بكم. They said, we make tatayyur of you. What does tatayyur mean here? It means that any bad experience that we are going through as a community, any calamity coming our way, any misfortune coming in our path, is happening because of your presence. It is because you are here amongst us, calling us to this, that we are experiencing some difficulties. And Al-Qurtubi mentioned that these people were experiencing drought at that time. That for, I think he said, 2 years, they never had any rainfall. So, they said, all of this is because of you. So now, look at the argument. It's focusing on not the message, but the message bearer. They have now moved from trying to negate or rebuff the message that you are messengers and from God with revelation, to the personality. You guys are a problem. Because of you guys, we are experiencing so many problems in our society. Now, doesn't that remind you a lot of our times, of Muslims living here in the West? Doesn't that remind you of many headlines that we read in the news? See, it's not about the fact that our country is facing an economic cave-in. The fact that so many people are out of jobs. The fact that even our Prime Minister David Cameron said that we are suffering a moral bankruptcy. No, it's not about those things. It's about these immigrants. Immigration is the problem. And more to the point, not just all those immigrants, the particulars are these Muslims. This Muslim community has so many problems. The problem of extremism. In fact, the very fact that we have these Muslims amongst us living here is a result of all of these problems. All of these magnificent problems that we are facing as a society on a day in, day out basis is in fact to do with these guys here. It's somehow connected. Them being here amongst us with their message and their women wearing their niqab and the way these guys, sit in segregation, and that's something to do with all of these problems that we are facing as a nation. Inna tatayyarna bikum. This is, the way of many people of the past. That they conflate the matter and they shift the blame. This is the main lesson here. Look how they are shifting the blame. Those people are experiencing difficulty. They are in fact experiencing punishment from Allah. Allah is causing a drought to occur upon them. Why? As a punishment to them. But they can't see that. In fact, instead of blaming themselves and their backward ways, they say, no, it's because of you guys. قَالُوا إِنَّا تَطَيَّرْنَا بِكُمْ لَإِن لَمْ تَنْتَهُ. And now they get serious about things. لَإِن لَمْ. If you don't, تَنْتَهُ. Stop. Meaning stop this call. Stop this da'wah. Stop telling us to believe in one God. Stop telling us to denounce our backward ways. لَنَرْجُمَنَّكُمْ. Then we will make rajam of you. A rajam has a number of opinions, a number of meanings. The first is that we will stone you. The second is that we will kill you. The third is that we will imprison you. Number of possibilities. And not just that, as if that wasn't enough. وَلَا يَمَسَّنَّكُم مِّنَّا عَذَابٌ أَلِيمٌ. Then we will make you taste, or you will taste rather, is more accurate. You will be made to taste from us a painful torment. And here they said they were referring to torture or to burning them alive. So not only were they threatening to stone them or to kill them, they went further and said, in fact, we're going to do more than that. We're not just going to kill you, we're going to do something even before we kill you. We're going to torture you. We're going to mutilate you. And this shows us, the reaction of an arrogant person. He is blinded to the truth. He shifts blame, just like Shaitan shifted the blame. He didn't admit to the fact that he was arrogant, too arrogant to make sujood to Adam alayhi salam. Rather, he shifted the blame. He said, خَلَقْتَنِي مِن نَارٍ وَخَلَقْتَهُ مِن طِينٍ. I'm better than him. أَنَا خَيْرٌ مِّنْ. I don't have to bow down to him. I'm made from fire. Something better than teen, better than clay. So it necessitates that I shouldn't be bowing down to him. He should be bowing down to me. Look at that with Adam alayhi salam. When he went astray and ate what he shouldn't have eaten, what did he say? What did they say? رَبَّنَا ظَلَمْنَا أَنفُسَنَا وَإِن لَمْ تَغْفِرْ لَنَا وَتَرْحَمْنَا لَكُونَ مِنَ الْخَاسِرِينَ. There's no blame here. رَبَّنَا, our Lord. ظَلَمْنَا, we have wronged ourselves. There's no blaming here. This is a straight out regret and acknowledgement that I have wronged. Compare that to the arrogant, that they not only shift blame, but they go after the people of truth to silence them. We don't want to hear of them anymore. And this is the reaction of those people. Now the last verse before we take a break. قَالُوا طَائِرُكُمْ مَعَكُمْ. So the response of the messengers now to this second argument is as follows. قَالُوا طَائِرُكُمْ مَعَكُمْ أَإِن ذُكِّرْتُمْ بَلْ أَنْتُمْ قَوْمٌ مُسْرِفُونَ. Translated as, your tatayyur is in fact with you. أَإِن ذُكِّرْتُمْ, it is with you every single time. We'll explain. Rather, أَنْتُمْ قَوْمٌ مُسْرِفُونَ. And more to the point, you are a nation doing israf. You are a nation transgressing. What does this mean? The messenger said, okay, so you say that these bad things happening in your society, they are because of us? No. Rather, قَالُوا طَائِرُكُمْ مَعَكُمْ. As At-Tabari said, this tatayyur is around your own neck. Meaning the good you experience as well as the bad you experience in your life is a direct result of your actions. Nothing to do with us. It's because of you. You are suffering because of something you have done. Now, here my brothers, I'm going to make one point on qadr, okay? And it's an important point. In the Battle of Uhud, as you know, the Muslims, they suffered at Uhud. They made mistakes in Uhud. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala narrated to us the incidents that took place and the lessons that were learnt by the companions at Uhud. One calamity that happened at Uhud was that a rumor broke out that the Prophet ﷺ had been killed. Yeah? Ibn Qami'ah from the Quraysh, he struck the Prophet ﷺ with a rock, a boulder. And the Prophet ﷺ at that moment was in fact all alone with only a few companions by his side, and that struck him on the side of his helmet. And he fell to the ground, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And he was wounded. He lost a tooth, and his lip was also gashed open. When this happened, Ibn Qami'ah, cried out, I have killed Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. A rumor then broke out, and the companions were utterly devastated. How could this be? How could this be? He's passed away. An amazing amount of anguish in the hearts of the companions. This itself was a form of punishment. Yeah, to have to go through that. Later on they realized that that was just a rumor. However, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in Surah Al-Imran that وَلَمَّا أَصَابَتْكُمْ مُصِيبَةٌ قَدْ أَصَابَتُمْ مِثْلَيْهَا قُلْتُمْ أَنَّا هَذَا. That when these calamities were happening to the Muslims at that moment, at Uhud, on that day, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, some of you said this statement, قُلْتُمْ أَنَّا هَذَا. That the reason why we experienced difficulty and loss on that day was because هذا, this man, astaghfirullah al-azim, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Yeah, some people said this statement, so they attributed their own shortcoming or the resulting punishment, calamity, to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. قُلْتُمْ أَنَّ هَذَا. Yeah, قُلْ هُوَ مِنْ عِنْدِ أَنفُسِكُمْ. Allah said, rather the reality is like this. Tell them, قُلْ. What happened is from your own selves. The reason why you experience such calamity is because of your own disobedience. Didn't the Prophet ﷺ tell you to stand firm on that hill on that day? Give you a direct, clear order? Yes. Even though he did that and made that clear to you, you disobeyed. Yeah? But then, afterwards, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that إِنَّ اللَّهَ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ قَدِيرٌ. Despite that Allah, now listen to this please. Despite the fact that Allah linked a calamity to the act of the person or the people, that this calamity was brought about by your own actions, Allah affirmed that He is over all things qadir. Yeah? That He is over all things competent, meaning that He decrees everything. Don't think that because you brought about this calamity that somehow this was out of the qadr of Allah. Is it clear up to here? Yeah? So what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is teaching us here is that when you disobey Him, when you turn away from Him, wal-iyadu billah, when you turn your back on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and disobey Him, there is a consequence to that, and that is the bringing about of punishment and calamity to you. And Allah has decreed it like that. Allah has decreed all of that. But the fact is, just because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decreed even you doing that sin, you still are responsible. How comes? Because Allah created you. Allah created your mind. Allah created your limbs. Allah even created the very movement and the coming to existence of your actions. Therefore, when a person, wal-iyadu billah, commits zina, or when he drinks alcohol, wal-iyadu billah, when he does all of these wrong deeds, he does them by the qadr of Allah. He does them by the qadr of Allah, because Allah has decreed him, his actions, the khamr, everything that is taking place. However, Allah also decreed, and listen to this, the free will of the person to act. Okay? He decreed the God-given will of that person to act. Based on this God-given will that every human being has, the responsibility factor comes in there. Allah gave you a guidance to tell you which way to act. If you act contrary to that guidance, you are held responsible. But you should know, whatever you do, good or bad, it doesn't happen outside of the qadr of Allah. Everything happens within the qadr of Allah. Nothing ever occurs except that Allah has decreed. Nothing can happen outside of the qadr of Allah. It is just how you understand it. You act based on the God-given will that Allah gave you. So ultimately everything you do, everything that takes place in this universe is operating by the qadr of Allah. But how does Allah want you to act? Aha! This is what the Quran was sent for, to teach you how to act. If you act by it, you are rewarded. If you turn away from it, you are punished. Okay? So that is a lesson in Qadr. We can't go into it in a lot of detail, but anyway, just to clarify that point. قَالُوا طَائِرُكُمْ مَعَكُمْ أَإِن ذُكِّرْتُمْ. أَإِن ذُكِّرْتُمْ means that the messengers are saying that every time you experience something bad happening in your life, and you in turn make the tayyur of us, mean you blame us for it, that in fact goes back to you. It goes back to you, meaning that you need to recognize that in fact all of this is happening, all the punishment is happening because you are bringing it about through your sinful behavior towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. أَإِن ذُكِّرْتُمْ, Al-Qurtubi said, in fact has 6 different recitations. Yeah? أَإِن ذُكِّرْتُمْ أَيْنَمَا كُنْتُمْ is another recitation. One brother asked a question, what do you mean by another recitation? Can we recite it like this sometimes? Can we recite it like this sometimes? What we said in summary is that when we say there is another recitation here, it means that from the 10 modes of recitation, the 10 qira'at, some of those qurra, reciters, recited it in this way. So if you have memorized the Quran or you know the Quran with that mode of recitation, you would be the one who would recite it like this. As for the rest of us who only know one particular mode of recitation, we will only stick to this one. But it is an awareness that this can be recited in many other ways. بَلْ أَنْتُمْ قَوْمٌ مُسْرِفُونَ, the last point before the break. And the last final thing they said is, rather you are a qawm musrifun. Now here's the question. Okay? They said to these people that you are a nation doing israf. Israf is usually translated as what? Huh? Extravagance. Yeah, that's not the question, by the way, it's the extra question. Extravagance. So, in what sense were they doing israf? In what sense were they doing israf? They referred to them as qawmun musrifun, a nation doing israf, or if you like, in a hopeless state of israf. In what sense were they doing israf? So the brothers are saying that, look at the way they responded. You know, they first started off with just abusing, then they went to torturing, then they went to imprisonment, and then now they are threatening to stone them or to kill them. So slowly they're becoming excessive. It's basically what everyone's saying. To be honest, that is part of the answer. But the thing is, in the Quran, every word has been intended by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Every word has, a profound meaning and a placement here. Here, why musrifun here? Because the reality is that they were actually acting like mufsidun, corruptors, causing corruption. Like the brother said, they were making specious arguments. They were, torturing people, maligning people, throwing accusations. This is a mufsid. A mufsid. That would be the more appropriate word. However, musrif is used here because israf linguistically means tajawuz al-had, that you go above and beyond the means. You go above and beyond the means. This then can relate to anything. Money. You can buy decent clothes for a certain amount of money. You go and you buy something extremely expensive. You made israf in mal, in money. The brother mentioned time. The person, okay, you can go on the internet, surf the internet, go on Facebook for a while, a few minutes. The brother spent the whole night. The brother's playing PS4, I think PS4 is the new one. All night. He made israf in time. Yeah? Behaving towards other people. You don't like someone, you can tell them with a smile, I don't like you. Or I don't like what you're saying. You can become stern-faced. Look, I don't like what you're saying, I'm going to walk away. You can go further. And you can start abusing that person, verbally. You can go further, physically. You can go further to try and kill them. تجاوز عن الحد. That they were making israf in behavior. They were making israf in bad behavior. They could have responded if they wanted to in a decent way. They chose to go above and beyond and to constantly cross a line and then another line and then another line. تجاوز عن الحد. And so قوم مسرفون is a befitting word to be used here in relation to the story and the behavior. And no one won this today. Maybe in the second part, inshallah, we can ask another question.